Good morning. My name is Eric Michelson. I'm the administrator of the Anne Arundel County Watershed Protection and Restoration Program. We're at Four Seasons Elementary School this steamy morning, and we are talking about the Towsers Branch Outfall Restoration Project. This is a site that drains about 120 acres of suburban runoff from the Four Seasons community in Four Seasons Elementary School, and has ended up creating a significant issue in terms of erosion and sediment and nutrient pollution to Towsers Branch and ultimately the Little Patuxent River. And so we are here today to discuss the project, as well as to talk about other stormwater initiatives in Anne Arundel County. And I will turn over the podium to the Director of Public Works, Chris Phipps.
Thanks, Eric. It is a pleasure to be here to kick off yet another one of the many stormwater projects that the county executive has included in the budget. And I think what's most compelling and exciting for me is I've seen so many of these project needs over the years. We've done so much planning, so much identification, but we've never had the resources to move forward. So now this opportunity with the county executive's budget, we're actually going to be able to put resources into action, and we're going to be able to show improvements. And I think, hopefully some of the images will come through, but it's very compelling what's going on behind these woods. And it's the kind of thing, it's out of sight, out of mind, but when you see it, you can't forget it. And I'm just really excited to see what we have in store to fix this, and one of many improvements that are in our program. And this is, we've got other things included in our budget. Another very exciting element in our stormwater water restoration program budget is a pay for performance or pay for water quality project, where we're going to be seeking innovation, creativity from developers, from private sector to engage in projects that aren't even identified necessarily in our program. We're seeking their input, their creative talents and resources to put together bundles of packages that will reduce nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment, which is the challenge that we face. So with what we have in the budget, I'm looking really forward to seeing improvements, and this is going to be an exciting chapter in the county's legacy. And with that, I'd like to introduce the county executive, Steve Shue.
Good morning. What a beautiful day here in Anne Arundel County. I want to thank Chris Phipps for the great job he does as the director of the Department of Public Works, which is responsible for all of our programs to improve the environment and water quality. And Eric Michelson, where's Eric, who spoke a moment ago, who was heading up the stormwater program and doing an outstanding job and setting an example for these kinds of programs all over the state. And project manager for Towsers Branch, Nazrin Dahlgren, who tells me that her family is the very famous Dahlgren family of the Naval Academy of the Navy fame. We are working really hard in county government to make sure that our county is the best place to live, work, and start a business in the state of Maryland. We're very serious about achieving that mission. And part and parcel of that overall objective is assuring that we have clean and healthy waterways. The importance of the waterways to Anne Arundel County cannot be overstated. I speak frequently of the very important statewide and even national assets that are resident in Anne Arundel County, including Fort Meade, NSA, BWI Thurgood Marshall, Maryland Live, the capital city of Annapolis, United States Naval Academy. So many very, very important assets. But first and foremost among all of those critical assets are our 530 miles of waterways. We are the water people. We have more waterways than any other jurisdiction in Maryland, and maybe more than any other in the country. The waterways are the basis of our recreation, the way of life that we enjoy here, the very basis of our identity as a people. And it's important that we take care of these waterways and bring them back to health. As everyone knows, the Chesapeake Bay has a failing grade. currently from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and several of our major tributaries are impaired to the point that since the 1970s, some of our major rivers have been closed to human touch. Now, there is good news. In 1983, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation gave the bay a rating of about 23. Today, the rating is 32, and I believe it's going to be upwardly revised in the next report card to 33 or 34. So we are making real progress. Things today are better than they have been in many decades. The bay is probably healthier today than it has been since the 1950s, and maybe even longer ago than that. We're determined to continue building on that progress by repairing these failing stormwater pipes and outfalls like we'll see today, culverts and other infrastructure, and restoring these impaired creeks and waterways and failing stormwater ponds. Our budget reflects the priority of this effort. We have included in our 6-year plan $253 million of projects to improve our waterways. That's the largest investment in waterway cleanup in Anne Arundel County history. They will go a long way to bringing our waterways back to health. Now, Towsers Branch Outfall Restoration Project is a great example of the kind of work that we're doing, protecting waterways by managing stormwater runoff before it reaches larger bodies of water and tributaries and ultimately the bay itself. And it's another example of exactly what Chris said, of how much of the damage and how much of our failing infrastructure is out of sight and out of mind. You just don't see it. We're standing here today on a beautiful soccer field in front of a grove of trees that hides what's really going on in the area behind me. People don't see failing stormwater pipes until the water boils over the street during a storm. They don't see failing culverts and outfalls because they're out of sight as we travel down the road. We are today at the upper end of Towsers Branch, which is part of the Little Patuxent watershed. The scene behind me, as we'll all see in just a minute when we walk down there, is a disaster. The outfall has failed utterly. Now that will soon change, thanks to Nazrin's good work and Eric's, to restore this important piece of infrastructure by installing a series of pools that will better manage and control water as it exits the outfall and removes nutrients and other pollutants from the water before the stormwater runs off into the Little Patuxent and ultimately into the bay itself. And I tell you, I look forward to coming back here in a couple years when this project's done. This is a big project, $1.9 million, so this is not going to happen at the snap of a finger. But when it's done, it's going to be absolutely sensational. Now, despite all the good work that the team is pursuing all over the county to address all of these infrastructure shortcomings, we have a long road ahead to restoring the bay and its tributaries to good health. The main problem is that the shortness of the time frame we have to meet federal deadlines. 2025 is the big deadline, and the sheer cost of these projects. We have a simple math problem. As I mentioned, we've allocated $253 million to these projects, an enormous sum of money, more than has ever been expended before. But it's only a fraction of the nearly $900 billion that we estimate would be required to meet the federal requirements by the deadline of 2025. We are pursuing a series of strategies to address this problem, this $650 million problem that we have. I said billion a moment ago, $650 million, still a very big number. We are investing general funds in this program for the first time since the institution of the state mandate several years ago. That is a major step, and we're prepared to continue increasing the general fund commitment to help increase and expand this program to achieve our objectives. We're pursuing novel strategies such as trading in time, using areas where we are actually ahead of schedule to buy time for areas where we're still not on schedule. We're also working with the state and federal officials to identify alternative funding sources, existing sources of revenue that have maybe outlived their original purpose or have a current purpose that is less important than what we have to accomplish with these programs, and offer an opportunity, therefore, to divert existing revenue streams in support of this program. I think we're making some progress there. And importantly, we are pursuing a comprehensive public-private partnership, or P3 program, to help clean up our waterways. So this is an important announcement. And what we've done in the most recent budget is allocate $5 million in funding for stormwater projects that will be pursued in partnership with county government and private sector companies that specialize in this kind of work. Our hope is that by working through the private sector, we can get a lot more bang for our buck and get a lot more project work done for the same amount of money that it would take government to do those same sorts of projects. A request for a proposal for this project, for this type of funding, will be issued in the next few weeks. We believe that this is just the beginning of an innovative partnership with the private sector to create a cleaner future for the next generation of Anne Arundel County residents. These P3s will help supplement our robust stormwater program that already is fully operational and help us meet our deadlines in a more cost-effective way. So while progress has been slow, we have turned a corner. We are making real progress. The bay is healthier today, and its tributaries are healthier today than any time in my lifetime, and I'm really excited about that. And I see it every day every time I go near the water, I look down and I can tell that I can see farther down in the water than I ever have before, and it's really, really exciting. I want to take a minute to thank everyone once again for the work that they've done to make this project a reality. I mentioned Nazrin and Eric and Chris. Also want to mention Rob Fish and everyone else who's been involved in these projects, and this one in particular. And I want to reaffirm our administration is committed to using every strategy, every angle, every weapon in our arsenal to conserve, protect, and improve the waterways of Anne Arundel County.
Further down, but
Sounds like it's kind of dramatic.
it just it starts to unravel as you go downstream, which is pretty
Hey, how are you?
The length of our project is going to be 1,300 linear feet, and we're going to, where it stabilizes and it's not a big eroded gully, we'll tie in at that point where it's most logical. We always want to tie in at a stable location.
which will be Towsers Branch itself, which is a perennial stream that goes through the Naval Academy, the dairy farm.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Towsers Branch flows through the dairy farm.
And
So this will take you down to the, if we follow this, we go right into the dairy. That's what I told Natron, we won't have any problem getting permission from the Navy.
So is this the headwaters of Towsers Branch?
No, this is a tributary to
tributary
Towsers.
of it.
Towsers continues north across 175.
So if this were in its natural state, there would be no gully here, this would be smooth ground, and this would just be a wet area during storms?
It
and
may be a small stream.
But yeah, about
Not
10
very
feet.
wide.
You might have a small pilot channel. But, you know, what's happened, the dynamics here are that with all the impervious area we built, when this used to be just a small pilot channel, and like you say, maybe a 1 to 2 foot depression across these side cliffs, with all the impervious area, it just brings more energy through the system. Mother Nature's trying to dissipate that energy, and the way she does it is incisors, takes all this, loses energy by removing sediment.
So
And it
all
goes
this-
down and it goes wide. We start to lose more trees, like that tree's gonna go,
Yep.
then that embankment's gonna go, more sediment's gonna go. And so what Mother Nature also does is, this probably had a somewhat of a gentle slope to it, from starting at the outfall side down to where the stream, the Towsers branch, ties in. But with all that energy that's coming through, Mother Nature is readjusting the energy slope because it's more energy than is necessary, so it flattens it. So by flattening it, you get this gully as well. So it's trying to flatten the gradient of the energy gradient. So all those things together result in this loss of soil downstream. And so what we do is, as you explained and you've seen, we build the stream bottom back up to a pre-existing condition as best we can. And essentially what that does is, once we put those grade controls in, it starts to reset. It ties the stream bed back to the groundwater table, and you actually get standing pools of water, which is just an incredible phenomenon. It actually recharges or rebalances the groundwater table in the area. And then we stabilize the side slopes, and now we've created, the other thing is, by doing that, we're allowing, as we get higher storm events, by bringing the stream bed back up and setting the grade controls, when we get to a flow event that overflows the banks, we're actually then using the floodplain. And we do have a little bit of a floodplain here, and there's no better energy dissipator than a floodplain, because it spreads that water out. So that's really the keys to the technologies, getting that water back into the floodplain safely and stabilizing the side slopes of the stream and the grade of the stream so it doesn't continue. Because we're not really changing the outfall, the discharge. That's coming at us either way. So we're just trying to controlling it. Yeah.
Chris, did you mention that we did retrofit the stormwater pond above this facility? So we have been shaving off. By doing that, we're shaving some of the volumes off here. But the reality is there's no way that you could do enough work in the watershed to correct this problem. This is basically on the downward spiral. So, the work that we're doing is coordinating, capturing that water up in the uplands, as well as the stream and outfall stabilization.
So during a major storm event, how high would the water be here? It probably looks like a torrent.
It's probably torrential, is my guess. I mean, you can see what's coming out of that, channel there that's been stabilized is just blasting the area down below. So, and the size of that pipe, which is like a 60-inch pipe, I imagine that the flows through here are just massive. I haven't been down here during the storm.
I don't see a trash rack or anything, but usually you'll see, litter in the roots and trees that kind of gives you an indication. But it's probably, maybe, you see where that ledge is in the side slope of that bank? That may be as high as it gets, but what it's doing is it's then undermining, so it just keeps going out.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's digging out underneath. You can see it all under there. Yeah. All that's going to collapse.
Yeah, so that could be the flow line right about there. See where those roots kind of are angled.
And this only flows after a rain event. I mean, it's ephemeral.
Right.
So purely stormwater related.
One of the other things, Eric's been working on and doing just a great job is the permitting aspect of all this. Previously, we'd have to permit each and every one of these independently with MDE and possibly the Corps of Engineers. We were working with them to say, hey, look, you guys are already regulating us under a TMDL requirement, and our watershed implementation plans identify all these needs. So why can't that be the permit itself? So we've been, and to the extent that we're not impacting, tidal wetlands and even non-tidal, a project like this, which isn't, we get under what's called their general permit or TMDL permit. So we don't have to go through a long, drawn out permit. It's huge. We think that's going to save some significant time on this projects like this.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And Eric, we've been working with
MDE as well, and because that was the core permit was the one that Chris is talking about. But with MDE, what we asked them to do was create sort of a parallel process for restoration permitting, because most of their permitting's been targeted at the Walmart that's going in or the subdivision that's going in and having permanent impacts to streams or wetlands. And we said, look, a site like this, we're going to be creating acres of wetlands that don't exist now. We're going to be enhancing a stream. And so that should be looked at through a different lens than, something that's got permanent development impacts. And I think we've persuaded them to that effect.
Good.
And we've been working with our peers, Howard County, Baltimore County, the other jurisdictions to, work in conjunction to discuss this with MDE and the Corps. So we have the power of the collective group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great project.
Yeah.
The manhole, and there's an under drain that comes through here, but that's all silted in and collapsed. So
So that none of that's even functional.
none of it's functioning right now, and that's the intent, is to restore the water quality function of this entire system.
So how is it supposed to work? So the water came out of the 60-inch pipe.
Yeah, and some of it would bypass and infiltrate into this area, this elongated area.
There's a big
that
pipe
you
down
see
there.
here. Yes,
And then it would come up out of there and proceed. So this was a way to slow it down.
a way to slow it down. Yes, exactly.
So it probably worked for minor storm events, but anything major, most
Yeah,
of it probably
anything
went over
major,
the
it
top
would
of
just
it.
go
Yeah,
over.
See, the energy and the velocity of the water is actually much more damaging than pollutants that are carried in the stormwater itself.
Yeah, like infiltration and whatnot is really better function for a pond.
Look at that.
Yeah, so it blew off the lid. I mean, the high
Yep.
fluid.
Yeah, blew off the lid.
That's how much energy is coming through here. This
That's pretty
concrete
pitiful.
block has just shifted.
Concrete that heavy. That's
Right.
Floated it. Water's powerful. Did you see any of these
Yes.
images from Ellicott City?
Right.
That's just
very bad.
tremendous force of nature.
Move 18-wheelers like that.
When I was a kid, a bunch of us took a trip under our community.
Oh, through the storm drains. Yeah, I used to do that too when I was a kid.
I didn't realize it was dangerous.
Cast out,
So this would be
raccoons, or
covering
whatever
it.
else.
Yeah, or a flash storm, and then that would be good.
Yeah, I had a friend who she was walking her dog during a rainstorm, and it went swimming in the pond, got into the overflow structure. She's panicking because she doesn't know anything about storm water. She disappeared. Somebody said, "No, follow the pipe downstream. I know where it comes out." They came back down here, and here's the dog.
Here's Fido.
Yeah, Fido came out. The